Hello, everybody. Welcome to the National Parents Union Nightly Restorative Check-In. I am, as always, your host, Marisol Quevedo Rerucha. I am the mother to Camerina, Emilia, and Sofia. I am the daughter to Irma Navran. I'm the grandmother to Isabela Luna, Cynthia Idiana, and Lorenzo Martin. I'm the granddaughter to 4 immigrants from Mexico, Camerina Rodriguez Castro, Alejandro Castro, Carmen Bedoya Quevedo, and Francisco Quevedo. I'm also the wife to Daniel and the sister, godmother, comadre, friend to many, many, many others. And as always, I thank you for that moment to introduce myself in that way. Just as a reminder, it always grounds me, and a reminder that I am not alone in this world. And this time, this very, very special time that I have on this show, it's a time that doesn't belong to me. It's a time that belongs to the work. It's a time that belongs to the hope of, I think what not just me or my parents, but our ancestors, our elders and ancestors, right? Like what their hope is for our world and for our children, and now for our children's children. So thank you for that moment. So today is Monday, March 29th. I cannot believe we have been doing the show for over a year. I have not counted up the episodes yet, but I know we're well over 150 episodes, which is amazing. We used to do the show every single night of the week, and then we moved to the twice a week format with me, and then once on Friday with Anjali. If you didn't, I hope that you get a chance to tune into her show from Friday. She had asked me and the 3 people, well, she's one of them, and the 2 other people who had contributed to the book that I wrote that came out 2 weeks ago, almost 2 weeks ago now, a week ago last Friday. And so it was just really beautiful being with Pedro Terrazas and being with Dr. Carolyn Gary and with Anjali. Anjali contributed a chapter on active empathetic listening, and Dr. Carolyn Gary included a chapter on trauma-informed, being trauma-aware, trauma-informed, and resiliency-focused. And Pedro talked about ceremony. And in the book, his contribution is really around the work that he's done with students. Really, really beautiful. So if you get a chance, please just tune in for a little bit to her show from last Friday. So with that, I want us to go ahead and move into our breathing technique. So it's the 4-7-8 breathing technique. We inhale for 4 seconds, we hold for 7, and we release for 8. We do this 4 times, and I will go ahead and lead us. So if you can please put your feet firmly on the ground, take your exhale all of your breath out, and inhale, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, release, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Inhale, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, release, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Inhale, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, release, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Inhale, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, release, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Okay. Thank you so much for joining. And let me bring on our guest for tonight, and then I'm just going to swap us out so you don't have that on your head. Hello, Tanesha.
Hey.
I'm so happy to have you, to see your beautiful face and to be with you tonight. Could you please introduce yourself? Just so you know, so let me show you really quick. So my auntie, who you have not met, is here, and my mom, who you met in Nashville, is here also.
Hey,
my cute little mom. Okay, Tanesha, if you could please introduce yourself and share anything that you want. Anything at all. You want to share your whatever, your family, your work, what you like, what you don't like, what you love, what you don't love. Anything that you would like.
So that's like a loaded question because I can go on all night, but no, seriously.
I'll just sit here and listen all night. This is your time.
So, hey, everybody. My name is Tanesha Peoples, and I am from the South Side of Chicago, proud Chicagoan, born and raised here. Where do I start? I'm the Deputy Director of Activist Development with Brightbeam, and I am an organizer. I'm passionate about my community. I'm passionate about education. I come from a very large family, a host of aunts, uncles, cousins. I have an older sister, brother, and another sister, nephews. So large family, great ancestors. I would not be who I am without them. Shout out to my mother, who's no longer with us. She's my rock. Her birthday was last week. Everything that I do is for her, to make her proud. So yeah, that's me. I DJ. I love old school music. I probably should have been born in the 60s or 70s, honestly. I'm a Cancer. I'm true to my zodiac sign, if that makes, if anybody's into that. And yeah, I'm happy to be here. Marisol is a big sister to me. When I need some healing, I go to her. Yeah, so happy to be here.
I am you know what, Tanesha, I think from just the moment I met you, and I think you're a good 10 years younger than I am. But there is just something, so you have this combination of power, and also there's a softness to you.
Are you gonna make me cry tonight?
It's okay if you do, because we do what's needed here.
Yeah.
And I think that softness, like that, I feel and I connect with that when you talk about your mom, and who your mom was in this world and continues to be through you. Can you talk about her and just share anything that you would like?
Oh man. So my mother's name is Shirley Washington, and as I said, her birthday was last Monday. And the interesting thing is that my mother is with me in spirit every day. Like, I feel her in my house. I feel her when I'm listening to music. I love music. As I said, I DJ, and I really listen to old school music. And so I feel like when there are certain songs played, those are her songs, or, those songs are played on purpose. And, it's like, because her spirit is with me all day, every day, there's not a depression or a mourning of her, of the lack of her presence, right? But sometimes you do miss that person, that rock, and she was my best friend. You do miss her physically, and so last Monday I had actually worked out. I went to my workout class because I work out about 4 days a week. And that particular day, I messed my back up really, really bad in class. But I was determined before I got home to go to the cemetery, and I needed that time with my mother. And I didn't know how much I needed that time until I got to the cemetery and I couldn't find her grave. And normally I'm able to just go and drive. I don't need a map. I don't need assistance, and I'm able to just find it, right? And that day I could not find her grave. So I'm sitting there and I'm trying to contact the office, and, I'm asking people for help, and I'm trying to find her grave. And I had a slight kind of anxiety attack because I couldn't find it. And in that moment, I realized how much I needed to be near her, physically, if that makes sense. And so luckily, one of the employees at the cemetery helped me find her plot. And I just sat there, in the grass, and just, not even talking, but just kind of having an internal conversation with her. And I cried, and, I like really, really needed that, because in this time of activism and advocacy, like it's hard, and you need a safe space, or you need something or somebody that's going to tell you to keep pushing, or that everything is going to be okay, or that what you're doing is right and what you're doing is necessary, and it's not in vain. And so she would be that person in my life that would tell me to keep pushing, regardless of how hard things have gotten. And I saw that in her because she passed away from breast cancer. She was diagnosed. I always kind of get the years messed up, but she was diagnosed, I want to say maybe between 2008 and 2010. And when she was diagnosed, the doctors told her that she wouldn't have long to live. But she survived. She fought for 6 years and passed away in 2016. And the cancer would come back no matter, how much radiation she had, how much chemo she had. And, but she fought, she took care of her family. She still worked. These are all things that she did. She was everybody's rock, not just my rock. So, and like I said, she was my best friend. I would go downtown when I worked for New Schools for Chicago, and we would go to like board meetings and hold certain actions. And she worked for Chicago Public Schools. And so when I was done doing what I was doing, I would go get her. She would ditch work and we would go just like kick it, And so those were the that's like the best friend that I had in my mother, and, play cards and, drink beer and all that good stuff. So yeah, she was and is a very important part of my life, and really the person that made me this relentless, and this person that just pushes through regardless of what's going on, because she exemplifies strength, and that's where I get it from. And so yeah, I get a lot from her, and I'm grateful that her spirit is so strong. The presence of her spirit is so strong, because I have a couple of friends that have lost their parents, whether that was back in high school or, to this day. And I don't know exactly what their struggles are, as far as because, it's not an easy subject to talk about. But I'm grateful that I'm in a place where I am, where I'm not struggling with that depression or that trauma necessarily, where it's hard for me to get through, to make it through. So yeah, that was my best friend and my hero.
Well, and I love that you continue to be in relationship with her, and you're so clear about the fact that relationship continues. Yeah. And I'm wondering, like, when those moments, so I'm just going to assume something, because you look very young. Sometimes when you look so young and doing the work that you do, that you can get overlooked, or people don't give you credit, they don't recognize. And I can see that even more so, again, because and I think, you're a powerful person, but you're also not like there's almost like a regalness to the way that you carry yourself. So you're not there trying to like, like you're not very forceful when it comes to like your way of being. And so I'm wondering, number one, if you have felt that way.
So, I mean, as far as looking young, I have been told. So, I'm happy that I go some places and I still get carded. That's a good thing.
Yeah.
I think that one of the, oh my God, I'm about to have some garbage fall over. I'm so sorry if it makes a noise in the background. Okay. One of the things that I've had to learn in this work is really the balance of self-care and again, like pushing through. And I think that became really important. I think it was last year when a young activist in Oakland, she was 33, she was a parent, and she had heart issues. And she was still an advocate, but she passed away from those heart issues. And, the stress that really taxes your body, and spiritually, emotionally, and physically. And so I started really taking self-care seriously. And really picking my battles, and so I don't want to expend energy on fighting things that I wouldn't necessarily say is a lost cause, but it's like, okay, what's another way to approach this so that I won't wear myself thin, or I won't, just completely tap out? Because at the end of the day, the biggest part is that there aren't too many of us out here doing the work, right? The good work. There are a lot of activists, but there aren't enough public servants. There aren't enough people getting into good trouble. And so the world needs us. And so how do we make sure that we pace ourselves so that we're here to fight this fight as long as we can? Because if we're all going at an early age and we're not preparing our children to take the baton, then that fight will die with us. And so that's not it's not definitely, it's not an arrogant thing. It's not a thing in which I feel like I'm the only person or there are only a few of us capable of doing this work, but it's acknowledging the fact that there are only a few of us really doing this work for the communities from our hearts. And we got to make it. And so I really do, like I said, practice like self-care and there's the garbage. I practice self-care and I really try to balance. Like, it's hard. And even right now, as we speak, I'm struggling. I was laying in bed last night and I'm like, I'm tired, because of the pandemic. I haven't been able to take a trip to get away. And I normally get away to California. I love being by the Pacific Ocean, and I haven't been able to do that. And so I, recognize that, and I'm glad that, restrictions are kind of loosened now so I can get away. So my plan is to be in Cali in a few weeks, but yeah, that's one of those things. It's like, it's really important to take care of yourself doing this work, because it can literally kill you. If not the work, this country can kill you. So.
Well, and you're a Black woman.
Yeah.
So like, I think that sentiment is even more like, you have to take care of yourself. Tanesha, last summer, when you talk about the real work, right, and getting in good trouble, last summer you were out, after George Floyd was murdered, after, you were out on the streets providing support, coordinating, getting donations, getting water, like supporting. And I could absolutely see not just that you are doing the good work and the right work, but in the real work, but also how that could run you down. And what have you done? Like, what steps have you taken? So this is going to be a multi-part question. Okay. What steps have you taken to take care of yourself and to take care of your health? And also what I'm wondering is, was there any point where you heard the message from your mom telling you, take care of yourself?
So physically, what I've done, and again, my mother passed away from breast cancer, and there's a number of ailments that run through both sides of my family. And so a lot of people are amazed at the fact that during the pandemic, I lost 70 pounds.
How much?
70.
70.
70.
You lost, so you are absolute, I already knew this, but I'm surprised. You are asking because I have loved watching your journey, but you are one of those people that, so I have gained weight in the pandemic. I'm the one that went in and ate and have been eating my feelings and my emotions and my fear and my anxiety. Very soon, I know I can feel the change coming. 70 pounds.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Talk about that, please.
So here's what happened. Last year, I was under a lot of stress and work was so hectic. I've never been I love to work out, but I also love to eat. But with loving to eat, I wasn't eating consistently. And so we know how metabolisms work and all that stuff. And so what would happen is I would be burning the candle at both ends and wake up and, start working and forget to eat. So in forgetting to eat and not having time to cook, I would, Uber something. And if I'm Ubering something, it's probably like something big and greasy, right? And that would probably be the only meal that I would eat for the day. And so obviously my metabolism is like slow as ever. And so the funny thing is I get ear infections often. And so one day, I think it was in maybe December of 2019 or January. So I went to the doctor and I had an ear infection. And the nurse was like, well, step on the scale. And I'm like, why? And she's like, we need your weight. And I'm like, Right. I'm like, what does that have to do with my ear infection? So we're going back and forth. It's like this battle. I don't know if y'all seen like that meme between Puff Daddy and I think it's like that football player guy. I can't remember his name. But it's like we're having this stare battle, like who go break. And I'm like, well, I don't want to be on the scale. She like, we need your weight. And I'm like, it's an ear infection. She like, so what? So eventually I ended up getting on the scale. And I noticed that, well, the scale read that I was 287 pounds. Now, the thing is I'm a tall girl, you know, I'm kind of built a little sturdy. So it's like, you can't really tell that I was that big. But the fact that I was almost 300 pounds, I was like, oh my God. And then I'm thinking about the fact that on some nights I'm sitting there working, but I'm watching my 600-pound life and I'm like eating the same foods that they eat. And I'm like, ooh, that looks good. And let me get, you know, so it's just like all these different dynamics. And so once and for all, I figured that I need to do something. And so I joined this like really strict program called Travis Garza. And it's, you know, it gets you in line with your eating. And so you're eating 5 times a day, you know, you're working out 5 times a week, 4 to 5 times a week, and it really holds you accountable. And so with the pandemic, it's like we're stuck in the house. I can't go out. I can't be tempted by anything. You know, there's nothing else to do. I might as well work out. The hardest part was that during the program, I couldn't drink. And so when they said that, I'm just like, oh my God, I need to leave. But I stuck with it and I didn't drink. I ate healthy. I worked out and I lost the weight. And so, you know, now the biggest part is just, you know, making sure that I maintain the weight loss and, you know, the healthy eating lifestyle, because the eating is a big part of it. And so, yeah, so during the pandemic, I lost 70 pounds and I'm really, really proud of that, because never in my life did I think that I would be like down in the low 200s. And I'm proud of that, you know, where some people may consider that still overweight. It's like I'm 5'11" and I'm a Black woman. So I'm, you know, I'm regular, I'm good. But yeah, that's how that happened. I just, you know, said that I didn't want to have high blood pressure. I didn't want to be at risk for developing breast cancer, because I have a, you know, hate relationship with the pharmaceutical industry and, you know, the healthcare industry. Is like they pump our communities full of these toxins and they give us all these medicines to make money off of us. And, you know, there's no cure, you know, and so it's like, y'all not about to get me. And I'm just, you know, adamant about that. So want to make sure that physically I'm in the best health possible. So I did that. Another thing that I did is that I finally invested in a therapist. I would say that one of the things that I had been running from was really unearthing a lot of like issues that I may have buried, a lot of issues that I on the surface recognized that were there. And I, you know, got some balls and was like, I need to talk about these things and resolve them, not just for me, but for people that I had relationships with, and understanding that, you know, at 35 years old, I might want to settle down, and, you know, seeing trends that, you know, existed in past relationships, I want to break those trends and break those patterns. And so I'm like, I need help, you know, professional help to get through these things. And not only that, but also, you know, the passing of my mother, because I recognize that some, you know, some of my behaviors and patterns now come from that, you know. So yeah, I started therapy. To be honest, I didn't feel like I connected with my therapist, so I'm in search of another one. But, you know, I'm glad that I finally took that step. And I buy shoes a lot, to be honest. I love shoes. I love a good boot. So I buy shoes a lot as a self-care, you know, tactic. And I like traveling. So I'm glad that I'm able to, you know, travel. And even last October, my friends were going to Mexico the night before. I'm like, hey, I'm coming with y'all. I booked the ticket and I went, you know. So it's like I live free. You know, I think that's important, to live life at its fullest, but also, like, you know, again, be conscious of a lot of things. So that's what I do to take care of myself.
Well, and I think the consistency with maintaining that balance is that's that lifelong journey. Because you know, be like, you're having the routine that you have right now, but you're not doing the traveling, right, that you've done. But what is so beautiful is that you've had this long stretch of time to make this your like, they're deeply ingrained habits now, right? It's a deeply ingrained way of being. And I'm looking so forward to all of your future adventures and your future pictures and your future partnership, like all of those things that your life has, is going to be. And it's so beautiful, Tanesha, that at 35, that you are fully breaking some generational trauma, like addressing your trauma. And I think also like really how brave it is to be like, nah, like I didn't connect with that therapist, let me find another, like let me find the person that's a match for me. Because that's really what you're doing, is you're walking the walk and not just talking the talk. Like in a very, very real way. And it's just so beautiful that you have found this balance. How has this way of being since the pandemic? So this health that you're feeling, this physical health. And I noticed you had said earlier, you had talked about like, there's not the depression anymore. How has this way of taking care of yourself impacted how you're doing your work?
I think it's broadened my advocacy, where it's broadened my advocacy and my horizons, period. And I started this work in educational advocacy, and I'm grateful to the organization that I work with for evolving in this mindset too, because when we think about everything that's happened in the pandemic, we think about child justice and we think about social determinants of health that affect education, right? And so our people, do people have access to healthcare? Do they have access to healthy eating options? Do they have housing, and affordable housing? And so we're having all these conversations because all these years of doing educational advocacy, I'm like, this is not like, we have to make this advocacy palatable for everybody. We have to make this issue urgent and we have to make it relevant. And how do we do that? We talk about how it's connected to all of these other things. And so I think that, it's broadened my horizon, but it's also really, I'm trying to figure out how to describe this, but I think that I put a lot into perspective. I really, really came to understand what my priorities are. And so to explain that, in the beginning when the pandemic first started, I had all these like speaking engagements lined up and all this stuff. And of course, those were canceled. And I was really upset because I feel like, those were the platforms that I needed to kind of like get the messages out about the work that I do and the work that I do with different partners around the country. But the pandemic took me on a different course of self-discovery, and different platforms to utilize and different messages to put out there. And I think they're more important than speaking to like, policy wonks and stuff like, I'm not like down in those opportunities or those conferences or anything, but it really grounded me in the work that I need to do in Chicago and the work that I need to do nationally and how I need to be there and support the networks that I'm in. And, they also support me. And so it really grounded me in my purpose and in my voice. And I think that is super important to, to your personal health. Because if you don't know who you are, you really don't know where you're going, and you just like spinning in circles trying to figure it out. And so that has been the most important piece to all of this, is like really gaining perspective and really gaining a better understanding of who I am. Because years ago I had no idea, and I thought that it was interesting. Like, we wear these masks and I'm walking around telling people to, live in your power and speak your truth and all this stuff. And I didn't know what that was for me. And so there has been a series of events, specifically and namely, and just gratefully, the Surge Fellowship, which supports, Black and brown leaders in education. Like, that has been like church for me. That's like religion. Everybody that's a part of Surge around the country, that's my family, and that's where I started understanding the power of my voice and really getting a better understanding of who I am and who I can be as a leader. So that's a big part of health, like really knowing who you are and where your power resides, and yeah. So this pandemic has, while it's been pretty bad, it's been very eye-opening. for me. And I really appreciate it. This moment to be still and just reflect and move on, move forward in that purpose.
My comadre says that she feels like for a lot of us, the pandemic was like your mom saying, like, sit your butt down.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You don't sit down.
Yeah.
It's really like just giving us the opportunity of the process that you're talking about, you know, of just really centering into who we are and why we are. And, you know, early on, I would hear stories about people that were like really realizing that they didn't like the person they were living with.
Mm-hmm.
That their relationship, you know, wasn't okay. And I, you know, I think just that, like, we settle so much, and I think the pandemic, there's no more settling
Right.
for a lot of people. So you did not describe what Brightbeam is, and you started talking about education advocacy, and you talked, you know, when you introduced yourself, you talked about being an activist and the work that you do. But could you just talk about Brightbeam? But also, I want to know, like, why educational advocacy is so important to you, and because you've been in the game for a while, and you were not a parent, you were a student, but like, why is this the thing that you chose to focus your life's work on?
Okay. So Brightbeam is which we were formerly Education Post. Education Post was established in 2014, and it was a communications platform for grassroots conversations in education. And over the years, you know, we've evolved in this space, and we've grown in this space. And we are now currently Brightbeam, and Brightbeam's lane is also we still have those communications platforms. So we have the national blog, which is Education Post. We have Citizen Education, and then we have more local blogs. So Jason, who was in the comments earlier, my brother Jason TDRS, shout out to, you know, Jay, has Atlanta.
Love him so much.
Yeah. He has New Jersey, you know, so we have platforms everywhere. But I think one of the most important things that we've done, and one of the most pivotal things that we've done, is expanded our work to activism. And so what that means is that I work with an incredible team. Shout out to Zakia, who's our national director of activism, and Nish, who's our activism associate, and everybody at Brightbeam. We have a dope team. But specifically with the activism team, I work to support activists around the country who are fighting the same fight that I'm fighting in their areas. And so we work in Oakland, we work in the Twin Cities, we work in DC, we work in Atlanta. You know, Jason's in Atlanta. And so we have some very dope people that's in our network, and they're fighting a good fight. They're having authentic conversations. And I keep mentioning Jason because, again, I love Jason. That's my brother, and he's mobilizing. When we talk about passing the baton and the knowledge to our young people, he's doing that with his kids, his students in Atlanta. You know, and so we're doing like the necessary work. We're working 24/7, you know, every day. So
So how do you keep your balance with that? Because the work that you talk about, focusing on kids, it's so big, it's so important. And especially when you're supporting activists in their local areas. And I know that, like, emergencies come up, there's emergency action, there's things that they need, and you have to organize and get going and support. So how do you keep your balance in that? Like, how do you keep your focus on taking care of yourself while meeting all of those needs?
I try to take my own advice, right? Because I have conversations with our activists about working smart and not hard, and really, you know, again, prioritizing self-care. And so, again, I take that to heart. Christina Laster, I used to, you know, have those conversations with her all the time. And what I'll do is I'll just outright say, like, I'm not taking calls this weekend. I'm not having conversations about the struggle, because I think that while we live in the struggle and we're fighting against the struggle, it's okay for us to take a break from it sometimes, you know, to escape it in however way we need to. I know we were having this conversation a while ago. My sister Visha said she escapes through books and Christmas movies.
Yes,
you know? Lifetime. Yeah.
Hallmark and Lifetime.
Right. You know, and so it's like, it's literally taking whatever opportunity is available to escape from the world in which you're hated. Because if we live in that oppression, that trauma, and that racism, we live in that every day, is gonna chip away at our spirits. and that too will kill us, right? And so it's really just like stepping away when you need to, but also I make myself available, like anytime anything's going on with the activists and they need me, like I'm there. And not just here in Chicago, like if I need to pop out, I'll pop out,
Yes.
so it's really, it's hard, it's tough because there's so much going on, and as activists we're trying to put every fire out, right? And so I try to have conversations with them, but also with myself, like we cannot save the world in a day. We have to really prioritize, like we have to take these tiny steps towards liberation, but one day we will get there, and honestly just be real about the fact that we may not see the change that we want to see in our lifetime, but we can work towards that and hopefully instill those same values and that fight in the next generation so that that change will come, so that ultimately our communities are good in the future. So that balance is hard, but it has to happen. Again, as I mentioned, it's critically important for us to be healthy, and you asked a question about how I got into this work. And it's funny because I've been saying, like, nobody, I don't remember either in grammar school or high school, anybody in their yearbook saying, well, I want to be an activist. I think that, because it's like, nobody chooses this work. Like it's hard. It's hard. Mm-hmm. And so this work chose me. I knew that I was a community person, and I really had a passion to help youth, right? And just quick background on me. I came through Chicago public schools, K through 12. And I was one of those students that had the opportunity to like go to magnet schools and go to high performance schools, despite the fact that I grew up in one of the most impoverished communities in Chicago. And my family didn't really talk about going to college. And since I went to Kenwood Academy is like literally around the corner from Barack Obama's house. And so that's kind of like, environment that I'm in. And so there were all these conversations about going to college. And I'm like, okay, well, I guess I should try that. And so I went to college and I had to take a math placement exam. And so even though I had, again, gone to one of these, the high performing high school, and I had done well academically, I failed this math placement exam. And it was devastating to me because I'm like, wait a minute, y'all been telling me that I'm a scholar this whole time. And so it had me really kind of questioning, if I should be there. But I pushed through. At one point, I was a business major. I couldn't make it to math class in the morning. I wasn't doing well at math. And I called my mother, Shirley, to the rescue again. And I'm like, Mom, like, I ain't gonna make it. I got to change majors or I got to get up out of here. And she was like, well, why don't you try political science? Because I used to watch court TV all the time. I wanted to have my own show because my last name is Peoples. I wanted to have a People's Court myself, but whatever. And so I switched my major to political science, and I kind of started, really piecing together where my passion was. And fast forward, I started out kind of on the social services side of the nonprofit industry. And I felt like I was, again, there, I was stretching myself thin. And I felt like what we were doing was really just putting a Band-Aid on the issues, and we weren't empowering people to advocate for themselves. And so I had an opportunity to interview for a contractual position with New Schools for Chicago, which would be organizing marginalized communities for high quality schools. And so I got that, and I loved the work. I loved it. And it really, in retrospect, I was like, this is what we need, because there's no reason why I should have had to leave my community to A, go to a good school, B, the fact that I thought I was going to these great schools and they didn't prepare me for college, but you're telling us to go to college, like that don't fit, and so our kids not only deserve good schools or deserve schools in their communities, good schools in their community, they deserve a quality education. We deserve to be prepared for this American dream y'all say y'all want us to have, and also put an end to this, to this generational poverty, because I'm big on y'all sending kids to school to rack up all this debt, this student loan debt, and we can't pay it back. And so what's the point? Our communities are still impoverished. It doesn't make sense to me. And so all of these things, like as I've gotten older, it's pissing me off because I don't have children, but all of these kids, not only in Chicago, but across the country, belong to me. Every child that's being done wrong by this system, by all of these systems, belongs to me. And that's the mindset that we should all have, and we should all keep fighting for those kids. And so I'm going down fighting for the kids, and that's how I got here. And I think that education is important because that's where you are self-determined. That's where you're self-actualized. That's where everything is like nurtured. And if our kids aren't in those nurturing environments, they will never know who they are or what their dreams are. And we have to fight for that because this country does not want them to realize their potential. And education is that space, whether it be traditional education, whether it be, communal education, whatever it is, our kids need that education. And I'm not letting the system get away with not giving it to them. Not at all.
Well, and there's that thing of the system saying this is what we want. Like you were talking about, like, oh, go to college, but not really like the preparing them. So the system though, like the system needs to be transformed because the system has harmed our kids for generations.
Yeah.
And so that system, so there's a lot of repair and I think alignment to what they say they're about.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to change the theme just a little tiny bit. You talk about this work with so much passion. I mean, just right. I was 100% like just fully captivated with the fire that you have. And what I'm wondering, Tanesha, is who are the people that have poured into you? Like, who are the people that when you speak, when you fight, aside from Shirley, aside from your mama, that you have carried you, have lifted you, have elevated you. And I just wanted to give you like some time to talk about them. If you like, you talked about our brother, because I claim him too, Jason, and Visha, who is one of my hearts. But I just wanted to hear about your people.
Oh, that's a long list. So let me start with Christopher Butler. And Chris Butler he and I are the same age. Maybe he's a year older, maybe, so I don't know. But Chris Butler and Adrian Leonard, when I started at New Schools for Chicago, those are the people that taught me how to be an effective organizer. Because one of my strengths is I'm a wooer. And so my friends used to joke, I used to quit jobs. Like when I wasn't feeling the job, I would quit it, but I would be able to get another job because I could finesse my way in these interviews. Mm-hmm. And so admittedly, when I got my job or the contract at New Schools for Chicago, I didn't have as much organizing experience, but Chris saw something in me because he was the director of the program. And he saw something in me that made him hire me. And he taught me a lot. Adrian Leonard taught me a lot. Who else? Joseph.
So could you share maybe just something specifically that that they gave to you or that they entrusted to you?
They entrusted the community to me. And because we were all responsible for various sections of the city, and I was responsible for the far south side, and there wasn't any micromanagement. They sent us out and it's like, go do what you do. We trust y'all. And again, not having as much organizing experience, I had to go figure it out. And so that is really going into the communities, developing relationships, having conversations about what a quality education looks like when, a lot of people don't even know, what that, because we haven't seen it. Caring about people, hearing about people's issues, because I'm big on you will not go into a community and suggest what people need without hearing from them first, right? And so really developing those relationships and trusting us to do the good work. So they gave me confidence, I would say. They gave me confidence, they gave me community, they gave me ownership. And all of that together gave me power that I had never been given before. I came from a space where, everything was like barked at me and it was micromanaged. And when I was young, being young and having education, because at the time I had a master's degree, I was a threat to some people who hadn't had as much education and, all these things. And so it was always that, dynamic. And so there was shared and equal ownership and trust that we would do this work as a team. collaboration. So they gave me that. They gave me my first. They gave me voice, or they introduced me to voice and power within our community and power within myself. So and I appreciate that question because it's really making me think about it, because I never like thought about it from that perspective.
So I'm wondering, because that gift, right?
Mm-hmm.
How, like, who now are you giving that gift to? How are you taking what they gave to you, right? Because that's real leadership. It's not you just leading, but it's the people that you gave the offering to, and them creating and passing it on.
I don't know if I can name like anybody specifically. I know that there have been times, and I really appreciate this, because you don't know who's watching your work, and so there have been people that have reached out to me over time, and they're just like, thank you for this. Even in my weight loss journey, like, thank you for being an inspiration and for pushing through. None of these things I do for clout. I don't do any of it for clout. And when I do stuff for the community, I get an outpouring of support. And so I would say that there are a number of people that I guess I'm kind of giving this voice to show that these things are possible, to show that there are good people actually doing the work, and there are people that care, that genuinely care. And they are empowered to go and do things that they felt like they hadn't had a chance or they couldn't do. So yeah, I just keep I don't see myself as like a I've never been a front person, or I've never wanted to be a front person. I've always wanted to be kind of a behind the scenes person, but every once in a while I'm a front person. And I guess, by default, I'm a front person because people just see these things that I do, and, they draw from that. So I want to be like Jason, and I'm planning to start a program for students in Chicago this summer. And so if I would say a specific group, it would be the young people in Chicago, because I feel like they really need us right now. So
do your mentors know?
I think they do. I believe they do, and I'm forever grateful to them. Anything that they need from me, like, I'm always here. And I would definitely say, again, shout out to my Surge family, Carmita, Saman, Tamara, like Cecily. They've also been inspirations. They are strong women of color, strong women of color. And yeah, so anything that I can do for those communities and for those individuals, like, I'm there. Like, I feel like I owe them, for building me, helping me, sculpting me into who I am. So I hope they know. If they don't know, I'm telling them right now that I love you guys. I appreciate you, like, from the bottom of my heart. And I hope that I hope that I'm making them proud.
That's so important, right? And I think also, like, knowing how proud your mom is, because I know how proud she is of you every day, and the guidance that she continues to provide you. But I think it's so I'm getting to a place of being okay saying that, like, it's okay that I'm glad I made you proud, because that, I think it lends to, like, the humanity of our work that is so necessary.
Yeah.
So along those lines, my friend, we're going to share 5 things that we're really proud of. And these are things that, these are things that that you have done or you have impacted. It could be your way of being, but something that you're really proud of, because I just want to give us this moment to, like, celebrate ourselves and to celebrate each other.
I think the first thing that comes to mind is that I am very proud of the woman that I'm becoming. I'm very much aware that I'm not perfect. I'm not striving to be perfect, but acknowledging my areas of growth and being unafraid to elevate to those areas. I'm very proud of that.
What are some of your areas of strength?
I would say I am very supportive and loving to loved ones in a community, period. I'm a nurturer, I think that comes with being a Cancer. And my like I'm just full of life, like I'm not scared to do a lot. It's like if you want to do something, you got to do it, figure out a way to get it done. And take risk. I think like for my birthday last year, I jumped out of a plane. It's like not too many people would do that, but it was scary, but I did it and it was dope. And so yeah, some of just, being fearless in some areas and loving and optimistic, and hopeful. Sometimes it's hard to be those things, but trying to see the glass half full and really draw from everything that you encounter, everything and everybody that you encounter, and adding that to that's value add to who you are as a person, your character, all those things. And so I don't look at any relationship or any experience that I've had as negative, because that's the journey of my life, and it's developing me and preparing me for something bigger and better and greater, and so thinking about all those things, just having a positive outlook on life, especially in the world that we live in. So yeah.
I'm proud of you too. I'm so proud. That's one.
That's one. I'm proud of my weight loss journey. I'm very proud of that. I plan on kind of just walking around in the summer in like shorts and a Lane Bryant bra, showing his stomach off. I'm proud of being able to be an example to some younger people and community members.
You know what? I would say, but like legit, you're an example to all ages. Because and some people think like by the time you're 35 that things are done, things are set, and you're continuing to grow. You're embracing it, and you're continuing to be brave, and you're continuing to be scared and do things anyway.
Yeah.
Me, I'm almost 12 years your senior, and I'm learning from you.
Yeah, I've really gotten to this point where I used to be afraid of what could happen, especially in using my voice, but I know what my passion is. I know what my purpose is, and I know that in that passion and that purpose, I'll be taken care of. And so I'm not afraid to use my voice anymore. And I had to learn that and surge and really be empowered in who I am. So yeah, I'm not afraid. I'm 35. I have a mortgage. If, God forbid, because sometimes you have to make sacrifices in this work, and God forbid, one day I'm unable to pay my bills or something like that, I know I'll be taken care of, because God, the universe, whomever, I'm good, and I think that I was solidifying that. I know I'm kind of going off script here, but I know that I came to California in like 2018, and Alma, that's another person. Alma, my sister, she took care of me, and I had an experience in which I was, with my ancestors, and they were at my side and behind me, and I was taken care of. And ever since that moment, I've known that I'll be taken care of. So, yeah.
I think part of that strength that you talked about is, like loving the woman that you are. You know who you are, like being grounded, and the acknowledgement of your ancestors, and knowing that you're taken care of. Like it's like an anchor, but an immovable one. Like you are grounded in who you are.
Yeah.
So I think that was 3. So you're at 4.
Okay. I'm proud of myself for treating myself to a new car.
Oh, yes. What did we get?
So in my older age, again, like I think, where I mentioned earlier, I used to just like quit jobs if I wasn't feeling it or whatever. Like I'm adulting now, and so I'm trying to be more responsible with money. But my old car was acting like a hoopty, and I'm just like, okay, Tanesha, you work hard. Like you want another car, go ahead and do that. So I upgraded to finally got a truck, and trucks are clutch in Chicago in the winter. And so I'm happy about that. And one last thing that I'm proud of is, I'm proud of how I've taken care of myself in a very difficult time, because I live alone, and it can get lonely. And again, I've, as you said, and as my grandmother used to say, I sat my ass down, and I became comfortable in being in this space of the pandemic, and being in this space of reflection. And so I'm proud of how I've taken care of myself emotionally, spiritually, mentally, and physically. I'm proud of that.
I'm really proud of you too. And I'm excited about the work that you're doing in therapy, and like going and taking care, because I think what therapy has allowed me, it's allowed me to take care of all the stages of myself. Like all of those, there's some time where I'm in the little girl stage taking care of things. There's time when I'm in my, a late teenage, early 20 stage, when I'm taking care of that part of me. And it's really important work.
Yeah. Yeah. It's necessary. It's necessary work.
It is. And it's something all of us should do. My aunt one time, who's she's in her mid to late 70s. She told me, she was like, everybody has a therapist now. And she said, I think that's really great. And there was a time, I think, where, especially in our communities, we don't talk about our mental health. We don't talk about our problems. We don't talk about, and we we keep the family secrets, and we keep everything stays in house. And so just to see that opening. And again, that's why, when you said that you're proud that you are, you didn't say this word, but like an inspiration to people, it's not just the youth who see you as a role model. Okay, I'm going to share. I don't think I have 4, and I'm just going to have to be okay with that. Okay. So I do the right thing even when it hurts. Even when it breaks my heart, I always come to doing the right thing. And I have to be proud of myself for that, because it's hard when you do what you know is right, to take care of yourself and others, to make sure people are safe, to make sure all of those things. But doing the right thing can be really, really hard. Yeah. I also, I had my book came out, not this past Friday, but the Friday before. And I've been really, really trying to embrace all of the beautifulness that's come with it. And I've really also tried to answer whenever I see anything on social media, to connect and be grateful to people for sharing it, and for because it's a vulnerable thing to release something like that. And so I'm just glad that I'm being very intentional with the connections with people. I also, so just kind of very tangibly, I'm answering my emails. I'm getting my work stuff done. And, sometimes it's hard. The struggle's hard.
Yeah.
These are long, there's back to back to back to backs. And then there's not time to actually do the work. And so just the diligence of going through and getting things done. And I just girl, we're alive.
Yes.
We're alive. And I also am grateful for the ability to really share genuine connection with people. I'm so proud to know you, but also to know, I trust that that I love you and I care for you and I'm here for you. Yeah. And I trust the same back. And I think it's so beautiful to have these relationships with people. So that's my list.
Yeah.
That's all I got for you.
I love the Cali crew. I love y'all. Like seriously. And I miss y'all.
You too.
It's legit a blessing every time I get to see you guys and just feel your energy, because it's needed. And y'all are part of what keeps me going. So I love you too. I appreciate you, especially this platform, because we need it. We need it. Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, let me know when you're coming. I get my second shot on April 17th. So you let me know when you're going to be in town. Thank you so much for being with us tonight. And for everybody who's watching, thank you for your time. Know that you were loved and cared for always. And we'll see you on Wednesday. We're going to have a conversation with Cynthia Smith-O and Marla Fernandez. Marla is a retired principal, but just amazing, beautiful. Everything the way you described yourself is how I would describe them, except I don't know if they've jumped out of planes. But please join us, and don't forget to watch Dr. Anjali's show on Friday. Have a good night, everybody. Know that you're loved and cared for. Good night.
Good night.